and welcome to Scott's Odyssey. Because I believe it's important to treat all my viewers with respect and let them know that they actually do matter, I'm a very open YouTuber when it comes to communication. Because I believe it's important. This has led to a lot of questions that I get asked that very frequently, and a lot of questions that I know are on the tip of the tongue of people, but they're afraid to ask. So I decided to have an open Q&A to give all of you a chance to ask whatever questions you want, and I will answer them. They're afraid to ask. Just not maybe the way that you intended on hearing the answer. So let's see how this goes, and if it doesn't work, we can spin up one of my videos and I can tell you about the visit, the research, the way that you intended, what was going on behind the scenes or in the background. So let's see how this goes, and if it doesn't work, we can spin up one of my videos. Everybody needs to be polite. Everyone else in the chat, what was going on? Because if you don't, I'll just let's see how this goes. And if it doesn't work, we can with that Starbucks who everybody needs to be back in 2008. Everyone else in the chat, what was going on? No, I mean I'll have to cut you from the chat. Yeah. Everybody needs to be back in 2008. Everyone else in the chat. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, I'll have to cut you from. You guys get an echo? Yeah. I'm seeing everybody here. Let me get the echoing. I'm sorry? No, I mean, and if that brought the echo back, that would be bad. So I'm pulling everything out. Now I'm muted, still echoing from earlier. Let me know if the echo came back. And we'll get this started.
Echo's gone.
Yeah, can you see if it's back? Much better, working now. Hopefully I didn't bring it back again. All right. Okay, we're going to pretend that it's working. All right, let me get back up to the top. Okay, right off the bat, before the show even started, one of the biggest commenters on my channel, Brian Walter, immediately jumped out there and asked a question. I even prepped a couple of questions on the side there to be like, hey, let's see if we can't get anybody. But here we go. Brian asked, with all the adventure, history lessons told and untold, have you reluctantly ever not told the entire story because of political kindness or more? Well, let's see. I think the more is the more, Brian, if you're on, or is it morals? Let's see. We're gonna, and everything's on a 20-second delay. I do apologize for that.
A 3-second delay.
All right. So to answer that question, there are currently in my list of projects, I have places like Academia, Girls' School, Canal Guard Lock and a feeder dam, the story of fairies, the Forest Park Zoo, Indian Caverns, and pandemonium and mocks them. Okay, so there's just a few. Well, the biggest one, though, is, where is it? The Buchanan Pyramid. So I already have those recordings done. And I can't post them because from a political standpoint, or even from a non-political standpoint, and what the people did, it's horrifying. I can't talk about it without leaning one direction or the other, from conservative or to liberal or either way. And I'm not going to give you my political views, but I will tell you I can't tolerate stupid. Not even a little bit. So when I actually do this research, I go, oh, I can do this and I can dress it up really nice. And I do run into issues often where the politics that are involved in it just get too heavy. And I have my own opinion that I'd like to express, but I try to give you guys everything based on fact and truth. And if it does seem overly political, I dress it up a little bit so that you could see that, no, we're not talking politics here. We're just talking, that's the way it is. So I hope that answers that question. Let me start scrolling down a little bit here. First jump down at the bottom. All right, let me get back up to the top here. All right, down to Mr. Gladfelder. Tie into one of mine. Yep, James Buchanan, birthplace. Dude, the pyramid one. I rewrote the script for that 12 times. And out of those 12 times, it was at least 6 times were completely new drafts. I literally took the document, deleted it, and started from scratch. That's how hardcore it was because I just got so angry at the situation. I mean, he's officially considered the worst president. Questionable. But even there, I'm not going to tell you what I really believe and what I really see on that because that's unfair to people that we'll leave that to the other channels. If you want that kind of stuff, I could recommend a large number of channels that really go deep into that, and they don't give me any kickbacks. But I tell you, start with like John Burke. Go check him out and see what he has to say. I know he's very publicly about it, but there's also, Steve Crowder. You go check them out. I'm on the same page they are for the majority, and I lean very heavy toward what John Burke says. So it's not always a left or right thing. A lot of times it's just stupid people doing stupid stuff. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. The indentured servant's in there. We're just going to scroll right past her. All right, another one from Adam at the top here. What inspires me to do this, and what do I aspire to do with shows in the future? Okay, so as a good number of you know, my previous job history, I did a lot of travel. And when I say a lot of travel, I did a lot of travel. And life kind of got a little bit difficult with the flying. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to drive everywhere. And along that driving, I did what all of you do too. Or I assume all of you do. A lot of times when I'm driving, I'll see something and I'll go, I wonder what that is. And then I'll just keep driving. And then there's times where I go, man, it looks so cool from a distance, whatever it is. I should really go check that out. But when you're working a job, you do reach a point where it's like, I just need to get to the job, do the job, and bail out. Go home, be with my family, be with my dogs, take care of household stuff, things like that. Well, I've been doing that for many, many years. And there's a quote going around on both TikTok and Instagram right now about, why do you wake up in the morning and you go to work to do something you don't want to do, that you actually hate, to make enough money to live a place you don't want to live, to go to sleep and wake up and be equally miserable every time? And I went, you know what? It's time for me to stop doing that. And one of the things I do love is I do love to be on the road, and I love to find out what these old things are on the side of the road. So that's how this all started. My father started going with me. My wife would go with me on occasions. And I was planning out my job so that on the way, I could put in an extra day to stop at these sites and take a look at them. Then I was like, I want to do this all the time, not just once in a while, all the time. So I actually left corporate America. I went from financially well-to-do to YouTuber, not so much financially well-to-do. And I've spent every penny I've had to travel and learn the history about these sites that are on the side of the road, just out of sight, things that people don't even know what's in their own backyard. and I'm loving it. And in the future, my progress is to reach a point on YouTube where I'm financially stable. And I don't mean well-to-do, because I've been rich and I've been poor. And I'll tell you, when you're poor, life is so much better. It is so much better. And I want to get back to a stable point where I have enough money to expand the show beyond the state of Pennsylvania. It kind of originally was an idea of like, maybe I could get people to pay me money and I will take them someplace, and vicariously through me, they will get to explore it. I mentioned my father. I brought him into this stuff, and I was like, he's getting older. He can't do these walks anymore. He can't climb these buildings. He can't go into these caves. He can't go to these locations. And as some of my videos have shown, there are some sites that, well, I probably shouldn't have gone to. Heart attack, type 1 diabetes, those kind of things get in the way. But I'm determined to hit as many sites as I can for as many people as I can before I can't do it anymore. And that is the future direction of Scott's Odyssey. Hope that answered the question, Adam. Let's scroll down a little more. Everybody complaining about echoes. Scottception, thank you, everything man. Let's see. Going. Oh, by the way, hi, everybody. Brian, DV, Rustic Ventures. Hi. Nobody got upset if I didn't say your name. Got Bob Earhart on there. I love talking with all of you in the comments. I really do. I don't just do that because, well, YouTube algorithm really likes when you interact with people. No, I interact with you because you're all awesome people, and it's a lot of fun. Let's see. There's the indentured servant. Except for her, she's no fun. She claims that she is my #1 fan, and that I ignored her comment, but I did mention her. And you see, the young, it's all lost on the young. I mentioned her and told her whatever, and she's still going on there. All right, let me get on. Brian, I see that you got on late. Hopefully you heard the response to your question. If not, catch it on syndication. That'll be, as soon as this is over, I'll wrap it up in a nice little bow and post it so everyone can watch through it again. Rumble is a good idea. Not doing Rumble, actually doing free Streamlabs OBS, and spent probably 2 hours today learning it inside out. And let me scroll up. What I'm seeing right now in front of me is the YouTube stream, and it appears to be working. So that's good. Over here, I have this other person. Shh, you be quiet over there. I have this other person over there who's doing a double check for me, making sure everything's working. All right, coming down. Let's see. Who's your favorite servant, and why is it Aaron? Okay, let's get the indentured servant daughter out of the way. Aaron is my baby. I have 2 older boys biologically, and they're really cool people. They're doing their thing in life. They're working through life. They like to go on adventures, but they don't like going on adventures, so it's kind of weird. You might have seen them in the Tytuna Cave. But Erin, well, she's like an infection you can't get rid of, okay? She just shows up at random, comes along one of these adventures, and then the next thing you know, she thinks it's her show. And don't tell anybody. It's not her show. But I'll just keep leading her on like that. So anyway, to answer Aaron's question, who's my favorite servant? All of my children are my favorite servants. And why is it Aaron? Well, because you keep coming back and you won't go away. You get it? You get it? You're 18. Get out. Go. Be gone. Okay. So what was my most fun video to make? That's coming from Jeff T. Jeff T, love you. Thank you again for donations that you popped in out of nowhere. Other people had watched many shows and all, and you just popped in and you hooked me up. Thank you so much. The Odyssey loves you for that. So what was my most fun video to make? Honestly, all of them. Some of them have been very, very frustrating when I go to make them. Sometimes I get into altercations with my spouse, who tends to be a person who would hold up script on pieces of paper, has always been there for me, always supported me through it. But get into some creative differences. It happens. But it's always fun. There's something fun about it, whether it's the site. Some sites feel like they suck, but when you learn the history behind it, and I'm an introvert, and I don't come off as somebody who's very empathetic, but believe it or not, I have this big spot. It's probably about the size of a BB inside my black stone heart. And sometimes it's like the Grinch and it swells up, and I'll find myself crying over a story that I'm scripting out, or I'll go to a site and I can just feel how hallowed it is. And there's always something about these shows that are just spectacular. This one, I'm nervous as all heck. I can't shut up. I'm being a little bit, I know I'm supposed to be like talking because it's vlog and all that, but I almost feel overly chatty, which is a self-preservation mode that introvert people go into. So what was the most fun to make? If I had to pick one and put it at the top, it would have to be Tytuna Cave, because I went someplace that later I was told I shouldn't have gone to, did it in a way I was told I shouldn't have done it. And it was just confirming everything that I do in these videos, that people want to tell their own story and they don't want to tell the story of the site. And I had brought my children along and experienced something that was just amazing. And then when we reached the blockade and we had to like jump over a blockade and go underwater, it was kind of like Lara Croft, the video game. And it was just a real life experience and explore that anything could have gone wrong and bad things could have happened. We were in waist deep 50-degree water most of the time, and we just kept chugging along. And I knew it was a good explore because when we left, all three of us, myself, Aaron, indentured servant daughter, and indentured servant son number 2, we were exhausted and we were sad to leave. And that was the key. We were sad to leave. So that's the one I'd probably put at top. Okay, Narnian Railway. The depth of research that I do a lot of research online, and I will go to Wiki, which is a horrible place. Don't get your information from Wiki. But what Wiki will give you at the bottom are links to official documents, official research sites. I spend a lot of time in the Library of Congress online. But at the same time, I don't know if you can see it behind me here. If I go this way, right here between the ammo box, or to the left of the ammo box, that's a lot of my Pennsylvania research. It's a lot of books that have been obtained through auctions and different locations, libraries that are throwing them away. It's the real history. These books all date back to 1700s and 1800s, and some from the early 1900s. So I do whatever it takes. And what ends up happening is when you actually start doing the research and you put some things together, it daisy chains and takes you down rabbit holes that you can get lost in and go so far away from the story you're trying to do. But because of that, we get to find out things like in the episode where I talked about Shaver in Shaver's Creek and how he got beheaded, and then found out that his landlord, who was from a different county, decided to come in, take over the property as property manager, mysteriously married his widow, and then his Shaver's brother ends up dying too. And you go, wait a minute. And then I started researching genealogy on it and all. And I'll tell you what, if that man did not kill the Shaver family, I don't know who did, but it definitely wasn't Indians. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Kathy, you got a lot of messages that you retracted, but we'll check that again in a little bit. I hope you figured out what you were trying to say. Kathy is Rustic Ventures. She also does similar to what I do, or I should say I do similar to what she does. She was doing this long before I was. She is a wonderful person. Highly recommend you go check out her channel, Rustic Ventures. She is awesome. Where do we find indentured servant contracts for our own minions? Adam, you'll be happy to know that the moment your spouse or your partner becomes, whatever that thing is when when you don't want it to happen, but it happens and you end up with a clone of yourself or part of yourself, instantly indentured servant right there. They will do whatever, because you have to feed them, clothe them, school them, all that stuff. Guess what? Indentured servant. Make it work. Lean on that. Let's see. L3GG, or you want me to call you Leg? Hello from German, PA. That's an interesting location. I'm still doing research up that way. We have this problem where there's a lot of stuff in central Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of stuff in NEPA-SEPA, which is northeastern Pennsylvania, southeastern Pennsylvania, and same with the west. And then there's a barrier equally large between central Pennsylvania and western, and central Pennsylvania and eastern, where there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. It is just Pennsylvania wilds. And I'm trying to find things in those locations. And German, PA is one of those locations, believe it or not. Center of attention on my channel. That's Aaron again. Yeah, we're just going to skip past that. Narnian Railway, please stop doing that. She does not need encouragement, okay? Okay, what's my NANA? What's my cop-out answer? You hook me up. You re-ask it, and I'll address it differently. What is your go-to for research? We hit that. When my drone drowned, did you think it could I find it? When it went down, the water that was coming out was probably about 1,000 gallons per minute. It was flowing. And I knew that I'd be able to find it because all of that water was puddling at the spring and was only going through a 4-foot metal corrugated tube underneath the road. And as soon as it reached the other side of the road, it went to a shallow pool that was created from water flow when the turbulent water comes through and it pushes the dirt up. And I knew that there could be a pocket there. And then there were a series of, it almost looks like a dam, but it's not a dam, that the water was flowing over to drop down another 3 feet before it reached the actual stream and river. So I knew that there was a high chance that I would find it. I also knew previous to the drone going down, where it went down at the entrance to the cave. So it was one of those, well, there's a chance I'll find it. It's a 4-pound battery. It might be right there. But if it went down in that hole, I was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. What I think actually happened was the force of water coming up out of Tytuna's exit was so much that it stopped the drone from going down into the cave and forced it against the bank at the entrance, because that is exactly where I found it. I did have my underwater camera and I had put it in and I was like, yeah, there it is. Oh, all excited. And I was like, this is going to be great footage. I forgot to push record because that happens. Believe it or not. I was so disappointed. I'm like, well, I'm not going back into that water because it was so cold that Brad and I, when we went into it, we thought we were in that water for 35, 40 minutes. And when I reviewed the footage, we were in the water for 8 minutes. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, dude, we talked about that for weeks, about that. So did I think I was going to be recovered? I knew that it was 50-50 and my hope was in the 90s. So I believed I was going to find it no matter what. And if I didn't find it, I don't know what I would have done. I think I would have cried because I know you guys like the drone footage. I love playing with the drone. The things you can see from above are incredible. Hope that answered that. Overly chatty, you. Yeah, thanks, everything, man. Let's see. Ricketts Glen in the winter. I'll be doing Ricketts Glen. You know, I've been driving around doing all these other shows. And in case I was going to go to Ricketts Glen, it's still sitting in the back seat of the truck. I was all ready with 1-inch long crampons and 2 different hand spikes and 100 feet of rope, just so that I wouldn't get stopped from going there. It just didn't work out that way. I'm sorry?
You're not going without me.
I might go to Ricketts. I'll go without you. This is my Odyssey. You could start up Leslie's Odyssey. Love the Ice Mine episode. That one was fun. I didn't think it was going to be that great. And when I got there, that one was a lot of fun. I just wish, a lot of times I call out to these people and I try to work out a deal like, hey, I'll pay for entrance and everything. I'd like to tell a story. I'd like to let everybody know the history behind this. Can I get any special access or a little bit deeper access? And they'll be like, yeah, you can, but you got to tell the story the way we want you to tell the story. And unfortunately, it turns into a, do I tell you the real story or do I tell you the people's story and give you better views? So if you think there's not enough footage or good enough footage at a site, it's because I chose to tell you the history and the real story with no punches pulled versus telling the story that the people wanted me to tell you. Let's see. Oh, there we go. I'm doing a scroll here. Just so you know that what I have in the setup, I got this big light right here so I can't see anything. Then I have a big 40-inch screen, and I have another screen over here on the right that the chat's scrolling up, and over there is the Streamlabs OBS, and down there is a dirty desktop with lots of things. So if you see my eyes going in all different places, instead of looking right here at the little dot on the camera, it's because I'm looking at all the different screen stuff and trying to keep up with stuff. Let's see. Scrolling back up. All right. Lots of fun after my videos researching online. Yeah, you like them rabbit holes, Narnian? they just go on forever. Background on my screen, where is that? That, Dee, is Tituna Cave, which would have been third, I guess it would have been third video that I actually did for the channel. That's the Tituna Cave. It is open to the public, but it is a private cave that is managed by the National Speleological Society. I was really close for a short period of time with the head of the Speleological Society, but in the end, there were lots of comments in my general direction over Facebook of his disagreement with my personal views of things and the way I presented them without presenting them the way large groups of people would like to tell a story versus facts and everything. So we are no longer associated, but that doesn't change the fact that the cave is still open to the public. You just have a series of rules, and they ask you to do things like wear helmets and everything like that, but they're not going to stop you. They definitely won't stop you. Let's see. Hello, Clearfield. That's Cody Zelenki. Love your last name. Let's see. Video like connection shows. Jim S. I would like to see a video like connections show. Please elaborate on that. Send me another message. Let me know what you mean by connection show. Is connections a channel? Let's see. Kathy, a few things here and there, but Colin Steele ruled. Yeah, gonna have to agree with that. Oh, stop doing that. We got that. We got a Williamsburger. Another person, 100% for indentured servants. No. See, here's why my daughter is not a slave and she's an indentured servant. Oh no. Did you hear that? That was the YouTube algorithm saying that they're going to ban me. Anyway, the difference between a slave and an indentured servant is you can get rid of that freaking indentured servant when they're done their time. And then if they come back, you have to recontract them. And oh my word, it's so difficult because like then they want clothing allowances and food allowances. And I mean, come on, get rid of them. Ice mine. Lisa Z, ice mine Trough Creek. Okay, there are 2 ice mines. One ice mine, actually there's 7 ice mines. I have 7 on my list. I've only given you 2. The first ice mine is, yes, in Trough Creek. Did I post the video with the kids where I screamed? Did I scream and they hit their head on the top? I was a really bad father.
I don't think that was the video.
So there's one at the top of Trough Creek at the end of the road. And that one's pretty cool. You walk down about 40 steps. Halfway down the steps, you go through a thermocline. And then it's a small hole that goes into a room. The room is no more than 3 feet tall, probably 8 feet by 15 feet in size. And you can feel cold breeze out. That one's cool. You only see ice there during the beginning through middle of summer. Toward the end of the summer, it just becomes wet. During the winter, it's flowing water. The other ice mine is all the way up in the Pennsylvania wilds, and it has probably a 6-foot tall, 5-foot diameter hunk of ice that forms during the summertime in it, and that one's a pay-for site, but that one's also very, very interesting. I have videos of both of them out there. Let's see. Grass Flat, PA. Hey there, Cody. Hey, I said hi to you already. Wait a minute. Let's see. Did I miss anyone else? Grass Flat, Ghost Town. Yes, there is. I think I actually have that on my list. Let me bring that up while I'm speaking with you guys. I keep track of everything that I have in Microsoft OneNote. I know it doesn't sound like a great way to do it, but if you know how to use OneNote, it's a really good program. I'm trying to type quietly and slowly. Oh yeah, Grass Flat. I have an entire map of the whole Bedby area and Dean Viller's report of some really interesting things there regarding a ghost town. So it is on my list. It is someplace we'll be heading to. Sorry for the clearing my throat. Okay, so information regarding Civilian Conservation Corps. This is G-Man Pump. G-Man, just so that you're aware, I probably have about 5 videos. One's regarding Whipple Dam. One's regarding an abandoned Girl Scout camp. And there's probably 2 or 3, all of them within a 4-month period. And I go very, 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 very deep into the Civilian Conservation Corps. I even go into the political side of the Civilian Conservation Corps and how it was part of the Green Deal before this new Green Deal, and how, although the program worked, how it was heavily focused on the Democrat-Republican Party and hardcore socialistic in its foundations. Yes, great things came from it. Financially, it bankrupted an already bankrupt company or country. And I go in deep in that. You should probably check them out. I'll try and post some in the description of this video when we're done. Let's see. No, Adam, I don't know the altar at Mount Pisgah on Shade Mountain. I'm copying that right now over to a text document as a must check into. British documentary television series by James Burke, 1978. I will look into that, Jim S., regarding connections, also copying, dropping into a text document while we're speaking. And we'll see what we do. There's a lot of people that I watch. I do watch a lot of YouTube. Gosh, do I watch a lot of YouTube? I pretty much don't watch television anymore. I look for YouTubers who are exploring locations, who are out there and adventuring. I'm not a fan, personally, of J.R.R. Tolkien. I did like the whole stories that were told and some of his quote, but I don't dedicate my life to him. But one of the things that I did like is the quote about, you won't find what you're looking for in books and maps. It's out there. So I look for the people that actually decided to stop looking in the books and stop looking at the maps and go out there and find it, which is why I'm promoting her again, Kathy from Rustic Ventures, Over the Top. One of those people who fully understands the concept of going out there, looking at something, and trying to figure out what it's all about. Big time kudos. Let's see. Brian Water talks about Fort Rubber Ducky and Sinking Valley. And the impact from that fort, or the importance of that fort. I do have Fort Roberto, or as the locals say, Fort Roberto, which I don't know why they say that. It's Fort Roberto. Even the people that work there say Fort Roberto, and it's Fort Roberto. Anyway, Fort Roberto and Sinking Valley, I could tell you right off the top, it was a lead mining facility specifically for mining lead to make ammunition. I will be doing a show on that. They're one of the few sites where I don't just want to go to and tell you the story. I actually, I have 2 stories on them. I want to get it all together in such a way and sit down with their team of historical reenactors and discuss with them the story and see what they'll bite on, what they won't bite on. Sometimes I'd like to do some of these shows where when I go out, I want to actually interview some of the people who are willing to tell the history and not tell the story so that they can bring more people into the site. And that's the only thing that one's waiting on at this time. Peel's Ghost Town. Yes, it is, Mr. Zelinki. Thank you, Rustic Ventures, for that. Hey, Eagle Talons from Fayette. What up? Fayette. See, I go out and I do one show out west, and the next thing you know, everybody out west is like, oh, wow, you can do this one, you can do this one. I'm like, I have so many shows ready for Northeastern PA, Southeastern PA, Northwestern PA, and Southwestern PA. I want to go back to Philadelphia. My brother still lives there. He has specifically told me that right now, the cultural and political climate of the city would dictate that my hat would be uncomfortable walking up and down the streets. And he's asked me politely to not come to the city at this point in time until things cool off a little bit. But there are stories of history in Philadelphia that I want to tell you guys that will blow your mind. When I took my wife there, I gave her and my eldest son, gave him a tour of Center City, and they were walking around and they couldn't stop looking at all the stores or how tall a building was, or the popular things like the clothespin and, oh, look at this, look at that. And then I would say, well, I want you to look at this little tiny piece of stuff. What do you think it is? And then when I would give them the story behind it, they were like, there's no way. And I go, I'm telling you, the history here goes so much further than what you learned in school. 1776 style Patriot, Mifflin County here. Mifflin, oh man. What exactly my scientific or engineering background is. Okay. So, I'll sit like this. Behind me, you will see what is referred to as a love me wall. It's a wall where I say, I love me. What's on this wall are all of my accreditations and professional legal certifications. My background is aerospace engineering. I am a rocket scientist. I changed over from rocket science into information technology because I wanted to get control of the robots before they control us. During that time, and because of the level of my expertise, I did a lot of government work. And I am what is officially, well, I was, and then no longer am, a person that was officially referred to by military people as a spook. And I worked in the information sector and the security sector. I, during that time, came across a lot of information. There are people out there like, I don't know, Snowden, who also experienced things similar to what I had experienced. I left that world, left inner cities and large cities, and became a very rural Padunkadunk, Pennsylvania prepper who no longer is in direct danger or jeopardy of modern day infrastructure. Yes, I am a weirdo like that. Before I created this channel, I was going to create a survival channel. Kudos to Coalcracker Bushcraft. He did it around the same time I was going to do it. I did not get off the pot. He did it, and his channel is fantastic, and his work is fantastic. But yes, that is the level of prepper that I am on that side. As a matter of fact, my wife is quite handy at pretty much growing anything and canning anything. And I mean anything. So that is what happened with that. That's my level. When it comes to computers, if it's smarter than a light bulb, I can control it and manage it in incredible ways. Do I still use those skills? Yes. And that is how I do a lot of my research. On the Love Me wall, not only are there certifications and licensing, but there are formal accreditations from appropriate and very large collegiate facilities. Don't go to college. I'm just telling you right now. If your kids are in college, pull them out. Follow Mike Rowe, train them in blue collar, let them figure out what they want, and let them choose if they want to go to college. I've discovered that it's mostly a scam for money. There were a few trinkets that came out of it, but I'm not really... Yes, I have the accreditation, so I can say that they are a scam. So I hope that helps you there. The one thing that came out of college is how to properly do research and formulate it into paper or documents and bring it forth. The one thing that I do different than everyone else is I tell you the truth. I don't pick and choose the history. I tell you what the history actually says and what actually was happening during that time. When I go out to these sites, especially after reading the story, I'm not looking at these crumbling buildings. In my head, there's like a holographic image that appears, and I see these buildings in their glory, and I see the people walking around, and they don't talk different than us, and they don't act different than us. If anything, they're more vulgar than we are, and they're more violent than we are, but they're just like us. The who we once were and who we still are is what I discover the further I dig into the history. Let's get to the next one. Let's see. Scrolling back up. Ding, ding, ding. Normal TV is meh. I'm totally there, Patrick. Totally there. The burning of Chambersburg. Yes, that is on my list. I will be doing a Chambersburg visit. I think I have about 6 good stories of Chambersburg that are just really, they're really out there. You wouldn't believe why it happened and how it happened. Is there anywhere I will never go to? New York City. Never go. Never going back to New York. Nope. No, I spent way too much time there, and I can tell you a whole other story and the whole 9/11 events and the things that went down there and where I was located at the time of that, which was across the river in the Goldman Sachs building during the event, and the amount of time it took me to get back to Philadelphia to my family. Yeah, won't go to New York. New York City's out. I'll go to the state, but unless like people start banning more guns, and then that's a whole other thing. You're going to do more on Gettysburg? Yes. Vicky Burke, I will be doing more on Gettysburg. One of the things that I've been avoiding when I do these is I'm trying not to get into Civil War stories, and I'm trying not to get into too deep of Revolutionary War stories. There are so many pedantic people out there that it curdles my blood. There are people out there, do they really know the story? No. They focus on one little piece that they learned about the story, and they go, oh, I know this little piece, therefore I know everything about the Civil War. And when I go in that direction of starting to tell Civil War stories, I'm going to have to deal with a sudden influx of people that go, well, actually, and they don't know the whole story. They only know bits and pieces of the story. I was taking a big risk talking about Sickles, because there are people that praise Sickles as if he was a walking god on earth. And if you actually watch the story about Sickles, you find out he was a dirtball. And that's just the simple reality of it. So I'm being very careful. I will be going back to Gettysburg, but I'm being very careful how I approach it. I'm also doing that along the lines of the French and Indian War, which you will not hear me say that often, of French and Indian. I'll call it by its proper name. I'll call it by the 7 Years' War. Because so many people are so touchy right now that I avoid the conflict, but if I'm going to touch on it, I'm going all in. That's why in videos you will hear me call Native Americans Native Americans. You'll hear me call them Indians. My wife hears me call them other interesting words that I will not put on YouTube because they're guaranteed to get me banned right off the bat and make a lot of people angry. Do I have something I don't like about Indians? No, my nephew's an Indian. Why would I dislike Indians? I love my nephew. I'm trying to get him to come out and do some of the videos with me, but we're working through some other things before we have them in there. Yeah, I'm not a hater of people as individuals. As groups, let's just say I don't like groups. Especially the larger they are, the less I like them when it comes to that. So I'll be doing more Gettysburg, but I got to watch out for the groups that are going to come chasing me. Let's see. Steve Ferrante regarding Mount Pisgah. Yes, I added that to my text list. Canning. It's becoming a lost art. Not in this house.
Not in this house.
Shh. You asked if you could be here. You're here. Thanks for keeping history alive. You're welcome, Susan. I do believe we need to keep history alive, and I believe we need to keep it alive the right way so that people will not go, oh, I want to be like, here's a perfect example. I am full on patriot of the United States of America. I am one of the 3%. There you go. There's a political statement. I am one of the 3%. Now, is that a good thing? If you look at it from the standpoint of men with their fists on their hips and looking into the sun and the wind blowing like Superman, yeah, sure, I guess. The reality is they were a group of guys that disagreed with what was going on around them. They got tired of what was going on around them, and instead of waiting for it to happen to them directly, they hung out at bars and they talked about the bad things going on and said, well, what would we do to make it better? And then they stepped up to the plate and they made it better. And that is more important in learning our history than how great these guys were. Everyone thinks like George Washington really liked what he did. His first experience in the military, he was like robot British soldier in the colonies, and he had a little small job to go out and do a little bit of scouting out west, and he cleared it up with minimal damage to his group, minimal damage to the enemy group, took the head captive, everything was cool, everything was good to go, made friend with the Indians. And then one of the pissed off Indians came over with a hatchet and like slammed it into the dude's head, and his head was cut in half and blood and guts splattered all over Washington. And he was like, with the blood all over his face, he's like blinking and everything, going like, what did you do that for? And that is history that people need to know, because everyone thinks, oh, George Washington was so stoic. Yeah, not when he was in his early 20s. He was not that stoic. And what ended up happening was, in that one event, started a war. So yeah, I want to keep that part of the history alive, and because it's just as important as all the rest that followed. Let's see. Trades. What's this chatter about trades?
You were talking about macro and trades.
I was talking. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Get into the trades field. Way more money. Marquis de Lafayette. Yes. Absolutely familiar with that. And I do have the whole story of Swamp Fox, and it's just sitting in my list ready to go. Did you go to Concrete City? Cody, yes, I did. Of all the people, Cody, I'm surprised that you missed that one. I went out to Concrete City, and I think I did a very good show on that one. I kicked Leslie off to the side there. She wasn't allowed to go with me. I went solo on that one, and I was there all by myself. It was quite an interesting experience. You can find that in the list. Just do a search on the Concrete City. Brian's daughter is a welder. Brian gets to retire early on his daughter. Way to go, Brian. Ever think about doing YouTube shorts? Okay, yes. I've thought about doing YouTube shorts. I've been experimenting on the Instagram side with the shorts. The downside of doing a YouTube short is it is non-monetized, and YouTube will still put commercials before and after and even during a YouTube short. So the amount of effort that it takes to do a 40-second video is, after you've spent the time getting the footage and everything else and getting everything ready, it takes probably a good 30 to 45 minutes just to upload a 30-second video. And for that amount of effort and not getting 1 or 2 pennies back from it is not beneficial. And the exposure of a YouTube short doesn't necessarily get people to come to your channel. I find that it seems to be working better on Instagram. It's something that's on my list in the future. I've mentioned a couple of times Kathy from Rustic Ventures. I don't know if she considers me her friend, but I love Kathy. And I speak with her often because she and I are in the same YouTube genre. So we go back and forth about different ideas. And hey, there's this new thing that the algorithm's doing. It's one of the things that led to the removing of Wormy from the beginning of the videos. We do lots of conversations about that. And I think we've both been a little bit on the fence about the YouTube Shorts because we're not seeing any metrics dictating something beneficial coming from doing that for the channel itself. There's another famous YouTuber. I don't know if you guys watch him. Davey504. He's a bassist, very interesting fellow. Not over the top or anything, but he's a nice thing to watch on YouTube. He has stopped doing his normal shows and focused very heavily on YouTube Shorts. And I have found that in the past 6 months, I've stopped watching them. Just like that. So I think about that stuff before I execute trying to do it myself. G-Man Pop about the lives of very early settlers and conflicts with. Yes, I love doing those stories. I touch on them frequently with things like burnt cabins, shadow of death. The finding information on it is so hard. I've heard a lot of stories, but to factualize that story is difficult. You guys might be hearing a scratching in the background. It's an angry dog who wants to go to bed. Thank you. Yeah, you just let him in. He'll come in and lay on the pillow. I have a couple of dogs. All right, the oldest site that I am aware of. Adam, the oldest site that I'm aware of in Pennsylvania. At this point in time, I think the oldest sites would be the Indian God Rock, which I haven't done a show on yet. The similar rocks that are on the top of a farm that have old Indian writing on them. And the site just southeast of Pittsburgh. They're all on my list. Going to hit all of them. At the same time, okay, here we go. At the same time, I do have a belief in older civilizations that existed long before what we know of. Current Native Americans will tell you that they did not come from the West, that they came from the East, according to their stories. That means that they did not come through the Bering Strait, the land bridge, and into the United States, but that they actually, before the Ice Age even started, came over from Europe and Africa on boats into the East. I believe those stories to be true. I also believe in the walking of giants all over the United States of America, and civilizations that predate all of those. I live in a location right now where I'm a short distance from Racetown Lake, and there are stories of the pre-Clovis people that they had found information on in a cave underneath Sheep's Rock right before they flooded the lake. And because they were in the process of flooding the lake, they actually shut down the excavation of the site. I have the stories that talk about that. At the same time, if you try to research those stories now, it says, oh no, Penn State fully agrees that this was not pre-Clovis, and we fully excavated the site, and there's no cave, it was just a rock outcropping. And it's interesting that I have documents coming from people with doctorates that say otherwise, yet in the same story, Penn State University doctorates that are saying, oh no, it wasn't that way. And there's a conflict there. So I do believe in the older stuff existing. If that helps answer that question of oldest site that I'm aware of. Natives would be interesting. Yes, I'm going to speak much more about natives in time. And yes, Sickles was very kooky. Okay. Oh crap. Sorry. I was reading it and it popped by really quick. Scrolling back up. All right. Adam Gladfelder states, given credentials, if you may, how much of our history is intentionally misleading? in my professional opinion, most of it is misleading. The stories that you hear are told by the winners and not the losers, nor the people that were on the sidelines. I have some of the books on my shelf behind me talk about things regarding the fourth turning. Some of them talk about the whitewash story, which is lies my teacher told me. Other ones are the big black book of secrets in history. More of it is misleading because everyone has a narrative that they want to tell. Right now, in current day United States of America, everybody's telling you that, hey, jump in on the new Green Deal. They're telling you to do the new Green Deal. They're telling you, oh, well, we should be banning people on YouTube. We should be banning people on Facebook. We should be banning people here and there. I'll tell you what, here's a book that you should read. It's called Mein Kampf. It's written by a writer by the name of Adolf, with a last name that I'm not going to speak because that's like a guaranteed banning of the show. And it's you can find it in English. Go read it. Don't talk about it. Go read it. I'll tell you what, the man was brilliant. He wrote a great book. And what you will find in that is that it is the plans that are currently being used in the United States actively to do everything that he did. Everything that he did, short of the genocide, everything that he did, which is all bad. It's all real bad. And at the same time, people will claim, oh, no, that's not the way it is. But that really is the way that it is. Just go read the history. It's right there. You can still get it until they ban the books. I know they'll never ban books, will they?
They are banned.
Let's see. Scrolling down, Native American caves at Raystown Lake. Hey, just talked about that. Yep, pre-Clovis. Patriot, think got it. All right, good. Adam, I do have Carrington Hill on the list. Let's see. Scrolling. Okay, Bastat. Yes. The inspiration that you received and that your friends received that caused you to go out, good. Go do it. Go see it. I try to capture it the best I can. I've slowly been improving my equipment. It went from this guy to this guy, slowly improving the equipment as I can so I can capture it better. Same with audio and everything else. And I do listen to what comments say, whether or not I respond kindly or not. It's a whole nother story. But I do listen and I take it into account and I try to push forward. Go out and see it because it's not always going to be there. And there are movements going on right now to hide that stuff. Don't be surprised if sometime in the future, like what took place over in the Middle East, a whole bunch of people, nobody knew what military they were, but they were dressed up in military gear. They had masks on, and they went through and they destroyed history at museums in Iran and Iraq that is 30,000 years old. They just destroyed it. Why? Because people in power don't want you to remember. They don't want you to know the story. They don't want you to ask the questions because it goes against their belief, their ideology, their religious conscriptions. It doesn't matter. They don't believe it. So yes, go out and see it so that you can experience it too. Jeff T, dude, thank you. Rocking me out again. I love you for that, man. Thank you very, very much. Scrolling down a little bit further. Kids of today don't learn history. That's because nobody teaches it to them, Vicky. Feel free to put them on my show. I really try not to curse. Sometimes it just slips out. The use of expletives is often referred to as a vulgarity, but I personally believe the use of expletives, when applied correctly, really do emphasize emotionally a point. Adam talking about the IOOF. I don't want to say anything bad about them because I haven't researched them deep enough, but everything I have found about the IOOF, they're an interesting group. I do have a show kind of planned. I need a site where I can do it. I have lots of stories I could tell, but without a site, it's kind of like, what's the point? Let's see. How's my health doing? Thank you for asking that, Susan. My health. I haven't had any relapses regarding the heart, so I think the medication's working. It is impossible to wake up in the morning, and when I do, I don't want to, but you know, I have to. I got to keep pushing. That's part of life. I have kids, I have a wife, and I have a dog, and they're all important to me. Not necessarily in that order, as my wife will state. And my type 1 diabetes is under control. So that comes in beneficial. Is it harder to do things than it used to be? Yeah, it's a lot harder, but it gives me a reason to do it. That way, when someone else is like, oh, I can't do that, I'm like, yeah, you don't know. So you push through it. I come from a hard knock life, and this is just a continuation of it into older ages. It's just getting a little harder, but I'm going to do it until I can't. But thank you very much for asking. Real truth of Civil War. What are you talking about, 1776 style patriot? Everyone knows the real truth of the Civil War. It was all about freeing the slaves, wasn't it? For those of you who don't know, the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery. That's just the narrative. It really had nothing to do with slavery. Let's see, move now. Braddock's Crossing. I think, yeah, I have that on my list. I also have a couple other things surrounding Braddock and some interesting stories regarding Braddock. Gladfelder Kiefer Cemetery in the Roxbury area. I don't think I've seen the Kiefer Cemetery thing. I'll copy that and add it to my list. You have it as in the Roxbury area. You know, I tried getting a hold of, if you're familiar with Roxbury, I was driving through Roxbury, coming back from one of the recordings. There's a site there. There's a guy who lives on the corner of three road intersections. And he has these crazy things on his lawn. And it's like a scrapper who picked up things, but he has like 5 or 6 cherubim bird baths and weird windmills and weird, what are those things called again that go on the top of your house, on the top of your gazebo, or on top of your cupola? The little tells a direction. But lots of weird, crazy stuff on his lawn, and I've been trying to get a hold of him. Can't get a hold of him. Yes, weather vane. Thank you. But yeah, I'll have to look at that one up. Welcome on board, Aaron. And then Aaron talking about Rip Wormy. All right, so I'm going to do a video on Wormy. When we did Tytuna Cave, Indentured Servant Daughter was there, and 2 people asked me. Now, I am an introvert, but I also like to spread information. When I know something, I really get excited about it, and I like to tell other people. And this elderly couple came up, and they saw me with the camera, and I was talking to the camera, and they go, "Are you doing a YouTube recording?" And I was like, well, not now. I got to stop and rewind it and redo that whole scene again. And I go, yeah, I am. And they were like, well, what do you know about this cave? Because we just came out to look at it, and it's very interesting. So I got excited and was telling them everything I knew about Tytuna. And Erin was like, boredom. And she took her phone and she saw an inchworm and just stood there for 10 minutes while I talked to these people filming the inchworm. And she said, I contributed to your show. So because she said that, I put it at the beginning of all the shows after that. I was like, well, that's a nice intro. Unfortunately, the way times move forward and YouTube's moving forward, intros, splash screens, and logo burns at the beginning of a video actually are causing people to stop watching your videos. They'll click off. So I removed Wormy and killed Wormy. So she's still very hurt about the fact that I killed her little inchworm. Don't worry, I will get a dedicated video out. Narnian Railway points out that she found my Scots Odyssey through watching Yorkshire's Hidden History. Now, here's something what's really interesting about that. Yorkshire's Hidden History is a channel that I actually watch. And I was doing a lot of talk back and forth with the guy that runs that channel and making a lot of comments. And he would comment back to me, but not necessarily to other people. So I wonder if that's something that I should be doing on a regular basis so that it comes up as a suggestion for other people to watch my channel. But that's really neat. Screwball, anything regarding or coming on Heart's Log? I had a whole Heart's Log Day presentation ready. Heart's Log is one of those videos that's difficult for me to do because, number one, there are political concerns regarding what I would or would not say about Heart's Log. Now, why would I really care? Well, I live on Main Street. Heart's Log happens right on my property in more ways than you can imagine. And we were excited to live here and have that happen for the first year. After that, well, we saw the dark side of Heart's Log. So I need to do the story of Heart's Log. I will make a reference to Heart's Log Day, but when I do the story of Heart's Log, I need to make sure I'm telling you the truth and the story of John Hart. That's what's really important about that. All the way up to the axe that had the painting on it that meant that he was no longer allowed to be friends with the local natives and things like that. And I could also step into the whole telling you of, whether you knew it or not, Alexandria, Water Street, all the way out to Petersburg. This was all an Indian burial ground, if you didn't know that one. And I have other interesting stories that I can get into regarding that and why things are called stuff like Indian Beach. It is coming along. They're on the shelf right now until I can work out other things. Like everyone, you might think I'm very mature, but I'm only a 12-year-old at heart. And I'm very opinionated. And I'm very judgmental. Although I do believe in fact, and I do believe in truth. But at the same time, I get emotional about stuff, and I want to react and say things about stuff. Like right now, I'd love to tell you my opinion on the Russian-Ukraine incident that's going on and how everybody's wrong. But I don't do that stuff. So I try to be mature about it, and I'll put it on the shelf, and I'll come back and I'll read it again. And I keep doing that until I can hit a point where it doesn't affect me in such a way that I can't give you the history and bring the history to life for you. Okay, scrolling down again. Patriot, I'm not bringing back Wormy. Wormy's dead.
The conversation is still going on.
Yeah, I know. I'm seeing that. Oh, gosh. Terry Yoakum, my friend. Oh, shoot. It just jumped. You just bounced past the screen when I was trying to read it. Regarding Frenchmen getting a hatchet in the burning of Fort Granville. Yes. When I go and I start doing the things regarding what happened during the 7 Years' War, I want to try and get it lined up correctly so that I can go out on site because, you know, gasoline at $46 a gallon now is, it's very difficult to go from central PA all the way out west to Pittsburgh. So I'm trying to get it set up so that I can go and I can hit that, and then I can step by step on my ride home hit 2 or 3 locations, giving that story all the way through, and then not have to revisit those sites. So yeah, we'll be touching on that. If you'll excuse me for a moment, I need to wet my whistle a little bit. Look, shameless plug. Anyway, and yes, I have to spend money on my own merch. All right, let's see. Clinton Sullivan campaign, Tioga, got that all on my list because that is a great story. East of Pittsburgh. Yes, you know where I'm going then. Scrolling. European Village and Sony plant. Yes, I have information on that. I can't get anywhere near the Sony plant. This is for Aaron K. Regarding what they discovered for the Monongahelians, or is it Magana? The Monongahelians. There's a lot of interesting stuff about that, and I can't get anywhere near that plant, and I've been trying to. If we're patient, it'll happen. Remember, trespass. It means don't go there. It's a suggestion. Adam Gladfelter, you always have access to me through email and through Facebook. You can always hit something up. I can do in person too. We could do in person and maybe get a cup of coffee. We could hang out. I could do that. But let me tell you, I've stated I'm an introvert. So doing this, I can talk to this camera all day. I can talk into this microphone all day. I could sit there and chat away with you guys there. When we get face to face, everything is really good until things become uncomfortable for me. And then I get like a little bit weird and a little bit withdrawn. And so I need to be careful with that. It's nothing personal. I am strange and introverted. But I love talking to people from a distance. Okay, let's see. Scrolling down. Let's see. Okay. Eagle Talons. Yes. Robert Seffer. He's an interesting fellow. I've watched some of his things. One of the things that I do not like about him is he alludes to more than what he gives facts about. Now, he is touching on subjects that really you have to allude, but the allusions that you make of one particular subject, you got to be really careful because you can also make other allusions. For example, you could always say, oh, the ancient technology of the ancient people that were here was so much more advanced. Maybe they were helped by another civilization. And you could equally say, maybe they were helped by aliens. Or you could say, maybe they were from the future. So there's too much allusion toward a particular idea. And that's cool, and it makes for great entertainment. But you have to draw back, and you have to stick with the facts. And it is okay to say you don't know. It's totally okay to not know. There's nothing wrong with not knowing. So yeah, I like him. There's a girl I watch, and I'm sorry I'm not remembering her name. She's probably in her 20s, young woman out of Britain who's digging really deep into ancient technologies and ancient aliens. And I watch her a lot too, and she's along the lines of Robert, as well as there's this Indonesian guy. His name is Praveen Moher, and the stories he's telling about the Indian temples is incredible, and his theories are incredible. But again, the allusion too close to the surface versus just sticking with the facts and what you do know. Let me scroll down further. Let's see. Let's see. Don't say short of the genocide. It just hasn't happened yet. That's funny. Scrolling. I don't know how far behind I am here. Let's see. In your 40s, grew up in a family of French and Indian reenactors since 3. I've seen it building the 80s anti-history movement. Yes, it is an anti-history movement. Free speech platforms. Nothing says American more than censorship. Wow. Free speech. Does anyone even know what that is anymore? Let's see. ODDySEEy podcast, please. Okay. So I've been invited to join a couple of other groups of people who do speaking. I do, because of the type 1 diabetes, I do have a little bit of a goiter here. Goiter means swollen thyroid gland, because that's one of the perks of diabetes as you get older. And as you can probably hear a little bit, the more I speak and the longer I speak, the more raspy I become. And that's because my thyroid begins to swell. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't gone into podcasting. But I was even going to open up this whole show with a big joke and bring up the microphone. Let me get the microphone. Let's see if it's in the screen. Bring it up and you can get it really close like this and say, hello, and welcome to Scott's ODDySEEy. So I do like doing the microphone tricks. I do like my voice. I think I sound pretty good. And if I have a script, I can nail it. Maybe I'll become a voice actor. No, I have no interest in that. But we'll see if I can kick out a podcast. There's a couple other podcasts I've been invited to regarding telling old fabled stories of Pennsylvania. Another one regarding telling old ghost stories surrounding Pennsylvania. And they haven't really come to fruition yet, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thank you for the weather vane there, Narnian Railway. Oh, darn, it jumped down again. Okay, good, I clicked it. Approximately when will your daughter take over the ODDySEEy? I don't know, Aaron. How's college working out for you? Anyway, moving on. Wormy is part of Pennsylvania's hidden history. We need Wormy back. Okay, guys. Okay, I'm hearing you. I'm just not listening. Okay? Love to hear my side about slavery. Yeah. I can tell you a thing or two of that. Look, I just did a couple Irish shows. They didn't do very well. And it's okay that they didn't do well. It happens. My hardcore fans love them, and other people just don't want to hear it. But you want to talk about slavery? Let's go back to Ireland. And we're going to go back to Ireland sometime around the 9th or 10th century, and we'll start slavery there. Because if you know the story of the Irish, then what happened in the United States over 100 years ago is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. And besides, why do Americans owe reparations for slavery? Why do we even care about the slavery? Why aren't we banging on the British about it? Because it was their job. Why aren't we banging on the people in Africa? Because it's not like a white man ever stepped on Africa to get the slaves. They would have died from so many different viruses just by being on the land in Africa. It was the people of Africa selling their own people to make money. But we're not going to talk about that, are we? Did Main Street Cafe ever reopen? Brian, what do I look like? What? I don't know. Did it ever open? Who cares? I don't care.
Soon, a couple of months.
Somebody's allegedly bought it and they're trying to open it, and boy, do they got a lot of work to do before they can open it. We were even thinking about picking the building up. We walked through it and it was like, yeah, no, it's not happening. They're trying to reopen it. It might be open by summer. I don't even know who the owners are right now. Let's see. Hey, 1776 Style Patriot. Yes, Aaron, when are you going to start your own YouTube channel? I've been trying to talk her into it since before I created the Odyssey. Let's see. Under building, really introverted too. I didn't know that about you, Kathy. That's interesting. So you get the whole thing about, being introverted, you do all this stuff. And then, like, for example, everybody, just so you know, when this is all said and done, I'm going to go into a corner that's very dark and I'm going to get fetal and I'm going to rock. I might even suck my thumb. I wasn't a thumb sucker. My teeth aren't bucked out because of that. But yeah, that's what I'll do just to regain my energy. I missed something before that.
Vicky Burke, do you ever take a metal detector with you?
Vicky, I have a metal detector. I have not taken it with me yet. Sometimes I'm really on the spot and I got all this stuff prepared to do and go out to a site and I do it. Other times, the majority of the time, I have all this stuff prepared and I go out to the site and I get lost in my own thoughts, or I get lost in a story, or I get lost in a site, or I run into people. One of the most difficult things to do when you're recording a historical site is compensate for people. I make 10-minute to 15 to sometimes 20-minute videos. I am on site normally for 2 hours to make that 10-minute video. And if there are people there, what would you say, Leslie? We're there for about 4 or 5 hours. And the frustration is deep. It's heavy. People are rude. They do things like when I was doing Turnhole Tunnel, it was perfect. It was a cold day. It was nobody should have been there, and nobody was there. And we got there and everything was good. And then these people pulled up in this car and they just were walking around and they saw that I was recording and set up for recording. And they just absolutely were tromping, yelling and screaming back and forth, walked behind me, stood there for an extended period of time. Then they kept looking at me and they kept looking at the camera. And I was like, oh, really? So what I did was I actually folded up my equipment and walked away so that they would walk away. And then I went back and had to reset up just to record that. So when it comes to taking a metal detector, I kind of get nervous about the fact that I'll run into a lot of people that'll, if I'm trying to record, they'll be interrupting too much. And if I were an extrovert, that would be great. But I'm not, and I'm an introvert. So they come over and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you near me? You're in my space. Ah! And that's kind of how I feel on the inside. So for me, it's actually difficult. It's something I have to work through. Eventually, I get the metal detectors out there. Maybe I'll hook up with Aqua Chicker. That would be really cool because he's not too far from here. He's just over the border in Maryland. I know, Brian, you were saying that to someone else, but you lived in Petersburg down Diamond Valley Road? The stories you could tell. That's kind of where my wife comes from. She comes from Sneathville. Oh no, I'm doxing myself. Benefit of being an IT guy? Trust me. I can out-dox myself. Let's see. Building now, man. 3 mile from me. Shame to watch. Eagle Talons. Find time. Patrick Lancaster. All right, I'll check him out. Gave up everything to do this. Okay, so Adam Gladfelder is pointing out that I gave him a direct response as a comment. And he said, you said in a response that you gave up everything to do this. Did you give it all or gain it all? On a personal level, I have gained more than I ever could have expected. On a financial level, it's hurting. I really did give up everything. Truly, I threw it out the window. My wife and I, when we talk about things, I go, I'm not going back to that life. I'm going to die if I go back to that life. It was killing me. So now I'm doing something where I'm actually happy, which is pretty cool. Hey, Readout Productions. Notice some people get a misimpression that historic events can only occur in a few large cities like Philly and New York City. Isn't that the truth? Well, one of the things I like to say, people, excuse me, people from my former life when I did live in the city of Philadelphia, will make comments in my direction like, oh, you're living in Hickville and there ain't nothing out there and the people out there are slow and the people out there are stupid. And I go, when's the last time a Nobel laureate or an Olympian came from a city? Something to think about. Oh, I'm blurred. I guess I could be a little bit blurred there. It might be because I'm doing a lot of in and out. Sorry about that, Bob. All right, coming down further. I respect the nightmare to yourself there. Did I miss anything else? Yeah, it looks like it scrolled down again on me. Nope, there we go. Coming down, making... Okay. So questions have calmed down a little bit. That's good. No?
There's any plans of going to Somerset County?
Who asked that regarding Somerset?
All the way towards Florida.
Well, anyway, yes, Somerset, going to do it. Definitely. There's a... I think I have about 4... Hold on a second. I'll actually look. I'll bring up my folder for Somerset County. I got 9 shows set up for Somerset County. Just haven't been there yet for it. And I hear your best dad about the Sci-Fi ValleyCon. I don't want to go in and everyone say, "Hey, your hat's Doctor Who." Not that there's anything wrong with that, because the 4th Doctor is my doctor. Scrolling. Meadville. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. I do have something on my list for Meadville. I have something in my list for Meadville regarding the Keybert contractors and the history and what they have done. I think it's along the lines of a Superfund site and some bad things that went there, and a loss of Native American history that was found, and the corporation did some digging in a place and they kind of just, oh, look, we got bones, and they just kind of put it in the crusher. So yes, it's on my list. Haven't been there yet. Let's see. I don't know if I have anything regarding Q Creek for the Somerset County. That's in response to Readout Reproductions. Let's see. Heart Slug. Yeah, I get it, Screwball. Ask anything. Do I have faith? Okay. Born and raised as a cradle Catholic in the city of Philadelphia. Born in 1972, raised by Irish Catholics my whole entire life. All of my schooling is that I was fully indoctrinated probably before I hit second grade. Went all the way through, came out. I was actually, by the time I was a junior in high school, I was actually considered going seminary and becoming a Catholic priest. Since then, things have happened in my life. History has happened and experiences have happened where, do I have faith? Yes, I have faith. Is it in God? Yes, it's in God. Is it Christian? It leans heavily toward Christian. So the short answer is yes. And the long answer is it's complicated. I have a very devout religious wife.
No.
And she and I don't necessarily agree on everything in those regards. But we are both of the faith and keep faith in the home. So yes. But there's caveats on there, on my side. Does that seem about right? Okay. I don't have to sleep on the couch tonight. That was pretty good. Patrick, yes, doing Odyssey outside of PA. There was a question earlier about where I want the show to go, and that is my plan. My plan is to get the show to a point where I leave this state and I travel all across the United States and hit similar sites, because it's not just stuff that's in our backyard.
Well, if somebody wants to donate us,
But
an
it's
RV or something, we'll
but
travel.
it's a matter of finances. It's always a matter of finances. Where in particular? Everywhere. I had a job I had to do. Excuse me, one moment. I had a job to do where I was doing some security work and getting some training at the actual Cisco headquarters out in California. And I was going to be out there for an entire week. And I looked really hard at places to go and visit during my time off in between the training and everything and the stuff I was doing. And I looked all over and I'm like, I could go see Golden Gate Bridge and I could go see this famous site and this famous site. And I went, but they're all boring. I don't want to see that. I want to see other things. So where I ended up going were locations like I drove up and down San Francisco looking at the wind harps. And if you're not familiar with them, they are just absolutely fascinating. They're incredible. It's just these huge structures that when the wind blows over them, they make music, which led to 3 or 4 months of me making wind harps here at home and setting them up all over the property. And they're made with fishing line and coffee cans and sticks, and they make these beautiful, beautiful sounds when the wind blows. And I wanted to wait for my wife in order to be able to go see the old trees. But that didn't stop me from going into the middle woods and finding a place called, what was it called? The Mystery Spot.
Yeah.
And it was probably the cheapest place I ever went to. I think it cost $6 to use their parking lot. And it's called the Mystery Spot. And it's built on the side of a mountain. And it's one of those locations where the houses and the way that they're constructed are at angles that to your eyes are fooled by the surrounding things to make them look square and level. And when you stand on it, you're actually standing at like a 45-degree angle, and balls roll uphill, and tall people and short people on one side, when they switch places, they're all the same size. I went to those types of locations, and that was probably 2 weeks before I started the channel, because I went, you know what? Everybody needs to know about these types of places, and you need to know why they were built and how they were built. So I hope that answers that question. Let's see. make sure you give a thumbs up. Thanks, Jim S. Thumbs up. Like the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. Let's see. Oh, William White, thank you very much. It's a great mug. Eagle Talons, I cannot be put on the spot. I'm proud of that. I'm ruthlessly proud of that. I have no problem answering it. I am the kind of person who, in a group of other people, are like, oh yeah, Scott's really great and he's really full of information, but don't ask him too much because you'll get really pissed off at him. And the reason why people get mad at me is probably about 20 years ago, I stopped lying. And what I mean by stopped lying is I wasn't a compulsive liar. Maybe I was when I was a child. My parents would most definitely say I was a compulsive liar as a child and making up stories all the time. But the simple reality is I stopped saying things to people that were fluff. If you were ugly and I needed to tell you that you were ugly, I wasn't going to go, you know, there are things that you could do to make yourself look better through surgical means and blah, blah, blah. No, I would just be like, dude, you're ugly. I became brutally frank and very honest about everything. And one thing I could tell you about being a truly honest person is nobody wants to hear the truth. So that's why this show is called Ask Me Anything, and I'll tell you. Let's see. Flight 93 Memorial. Most interesting talks with people. Okay, so I go out to sites and I visit them. Probably the best one. This is in regards to Readout Productions. He asked when he said when he visited Flight 93, he had most interesting talks with people that he had more than other. When I make a video, I avoid people as much as I can. And that's just because I'm an introvert. There's no other reason. I wear a black shirt and denim all the time. When I'm not wearing my brimmed hat, I'm wearing a ball cap. I look away from people. I stay away from people. I don't interact. It's a fault, I guess, but I avoid people. So when I'm actually doing a video and run into people, do I get stories? Yes. When I was doing bridges, I did a couple of covered bridges. I happened to be out west. I think I was in Bedford, and this one bridge was on private property. And I was approaching it. I had my father with me, and I'm like, this looks like a site where the guy's going to probably shoot first, ask questions later. And I couldn't find a way to access the property in any way, shape, or form without literally crossing a line. So I went, you know what? I said, Dad, I'm going to do it anyway. What's the worst he's going to do? Tell us to get off, shoot at us. We just won't shoot back. It's real simple. It's his property. So I went onto the property and I saw the man and I said, hi, do you know how hard that is for me to do? If you had any idea how hard that is for me to do. So I approached this guy, cold talked to him. I was like, hi. He goes, hi. I said, I was out here to record the history of this bridge before it falls down. And I just wanted to know if I could have your permission to make a video. Well, the next thing you know, I spent the next 4 hours listening to his stories of when he was a little kid, all about the bridge, the things they used to do in that area, which I loved hearing about it. And then it went into his days in Vietnam and the injury that he sustained and how the county's screwing him over on the property with the taxes. And right now he was having a bad day because the sow got out and broke through the fence. He's got to fix the fence. He was asking me, did you happen to see the sow? Things like that. So does it happen? Yeah, it happens. Same with when I did the gunpowder site, the place that made the flash powder or the flash cotton for World War I and World War II. When I went out there, the person who owns that property, boy, did he have stories to tell me. And at the same time, his stepson who lived with him, boy, did he not want me there on the property and was really mean to me all the way through. There's another person who I'm very friendly with, who's a YouTuber and does history stuff. His name's Barry. He does running into history. And he did a perfect video with what it's like to be a YouTuber and do this stuff. It's pretty much like this. You go like this. Yeah, so I was wondering if I could come out on your property and do a historical recording of both the site and tell the story, and maybe you would, I'm sorry, what? No, hello? Hello. And then the next call is this one. Okay, so you're not going to let me on the property no matter what? No, just, I have waivers. Okay, no? All right, but the historicals, hello? And then it's the same when you're talking to historical societies. When you talk to the historical societies, they go, well, here's the story the way we present it, and we would prefer that the story is presented this way. And I go, okay, that's really good, but where's your facts? And they're like, well, we don't have that information. And I go, then how can you be telling that as if that's the history of the site? And they go, well, people don't want to hear the bad things. And it's absolutely nuts. So because of that and my personality, I try to avoid to talk to the people if I don't have to. But if I do, I become a very good listener. I think I am. I think I'm pretty okay. Not with you. Not with the wife. I don't listen to her.
You missed a question from Adam that filter. It says, what is immediately behind you?
Did I miss that? Yeah. Okay, I was told I missed a question from Adam.
Under Jim asked, make sure you give a thumbs up.
What is immediately behind me? What is immediately behind me? You want me to be 100% honest with you? What's immediately behind me is a very comfortable chair. And put my legs up, and that's what I sit at when I work at the computer. It's got to be what he meant, right? Mm-hmm. So immediately behind me on the wall is my Love Me wall and my Love Me bookshelf. That bookshelf contains the books that meant the most to me through my college careers, going all the way back into the 90s and going back into the mid to late 2000s when I got my higher accreditations. There's also a lot of very interesting little things on there, trinkets, things that meant something to me as I went through life, complete with over my left shoulder at the top shelf, all the way on the left, there is a metal sign called Pirate for Hire. That was a joke sign that I made on the front of my Jeep because some of the things I was doing with computers professionally. But directly behind that, there is a fish tackle box. And inside that fish tackle box, it has a stone in every little tiny section. And each one of those stones is from a different location in the Holy Land, or from the Holy Land. Each one of the stones is from a different location throughout the Holy Land. Henry David Thoreau made a comment that you replace whatever you take out, which kicked off this big thing about there's a whole pile of rocks where Thoreau's cabin was that people have created by putting a pocket in their, or putting a rock in their pocket from where they live. And then when they go and they visit there, they take one of the rocks from there and they put their rock in place of it. Now, I don't remember if it was Thoreau that started that or if it wasn't until Jack Kerouac, who was another transcendentalist, who said, if you need to take something to create a way to remember where you were, pick up a rock. So there's a lot of rocks on the shelf behind me, and every one of those rocks has a very special remembrance, is a very special remembrance token for what I did and where I was. That's the vast majority of what's up there. It's my Love Me. Now, if you're talking about the firearms, it's an AR-15 decked out with a 64X scope and a red dot on cant sight, a whole bunch of ammunition, and there's like there's an arrow that I shot through the nock at 100 meters. There's little things like that, little things that meant something, and little toys and stuff. One of the big things, I don't know if Erin jumped in. No, she didn't jump in. So indentured servant daughter just went down to Florida to visit relatives. And while she was down in Florida, she went to the Kennedy Space Center. When she was at the Kennedy Space Center, she brought me back a teddy bear for the Artemis project, which is the next moon mission, which is a stepping stone onto the Mars mission. And she did that just for me. And she picked that up for me. And that's because I'm an aerospace engineer, rocket scientist. I like that stuff. All right, let's see. Getting back over. Oh, gosh. Everybody caught up again. And I fell behind. Sorry. I like that Aaron K thing about making me a deal. Order him food through a drive-thru. He'll ask the permission in person. Let's see. Going down. There we go, that teddy bear. Now you know about that teddy bear. What should be more interesting, is it showing up on camera? Yes. Right here is the monkey. When I had the revelation of what it was like to actually work in corporate America and what was really going on in life, and I had the enlightenment of what was going on behind the scenes, and yes, I wear a tinfoil hat. No, I don't really wear a tinfoil hat because I'm an engineer. I know that if you wear a tinfoil hat, you're actually going to attract the rays instead of repel the rays. What you have to do is put a screen mesh with the appropriate sizes between the squares to match the frequency of the rays. That's a whole other thing. Anyway, they said to me, "You're nothing more than a monkey in a cage." And I thought about that for a while, and I said, what do you actually mean? And they bought me that. That thing is 35 years old now. And it was in a plastic cage holding itself there. And it was in my cubicle. And he would come by, he put it there. And I sat down, I went, dude, what's that for? And when you tap the monkey or you tapped its cage, the monkey goes, while it's in the cage. If anybody does a meme of me doing that just now, I'm coming for you. Okay, so it did the little monkey shake in the cage. And it affected me in a weird psychological and emotional way where to this day, I think about the monkey in the cage. That's more important than that bear. Although the bear was a wonderful thing from my daughter.
You missed a question from BGW.
I did? How do you discern what to believe when researching history? Follow the money. Always follow the money, BG. When I research the history, I do computers and I do engineering, and I watch people. I might not interact with people, but boy, do I watch people, and I watch them closely. There's this neat little thing where you could start predicting what happens. My wife laughs at me and says I should make money on it somehow, but I have this keen ability to predict the future. And I will say these crazy things and people will be like, oh, that's a conspiracy. And boom, next thing you know, it happens. And it's because we have tendencies to do things a certain way, and that hasn't changed in hundreds of thousands of years. I guess it's a humanitarian aspect of people, but I watch people and I read through the history. You can tell when certain words are used, when it's a story or when there's embellishment going on. And honestly, it sounds kind of weird from a scientific perspective, but there is a political science actual that works here. In the Bible, it states by the mouths of two or three. So if you can find independent sources that tell a same story who were there, you can usually discern where the truth is. And if you can dig a little deeper, you can find the facts to back up the truth. And that's one of the things that we miss in today's society. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you're wrong. And they go, oh, my opinion's not wrong. And I go, you don't know what the difference between a viewpoint and an opinion is. People say it's their opinion, and it's not their opinion. It's a viewpoint, and viewpoints are wrong. You can have an opinion be wrong if you don't have the correct facts to back up your opinion. But it's not an opinion if you're expressing it. It's just a viewpoint. But if you have the facts to back up your viewpoint, now it's an opinion. You see how that works? Gosh, English is so simple. Hope that answers your question. Let's see, that was there. Yes, I think I've actually, Armstrong County. I'm saying yes, like you guys know what I'm reading. Ben Grafton asked about Armstrong County. I think I was actually there for a couple of things. Check my list here. Armstrong. I have 3 things set up for Armstrong County. No, I can't tell you what they are. That would be too much information. It's more fun when you don't know. But yes, Armstrong County is on the list of a place where I will be coming to in your not too distant future. Thanks, Brian. I probably already missed you. You probably already bounced out. But thanks for coming as always, Brian. Brian Walter's been there for me like since
Day one.
Yeah, since day one. And like day 2 was best at. Thank you for that. So many of you have been there. Let's see. Pick up rocks, except at Devil's Den. That's funny. I would never do that. It's a state forest. I don't want to go to jail for picking that up, although I found it. Never mind. Eagle talons 100 monkeys. Oh, if you only knew. We could talk about 100 monkeys all day long and how COVID-19, 84, is similar to that story. People will always be people, whether 5,000 years ago today. Yep. Yes. The only difference is how we grunt. And in another 1,000 years, nobody on this planet, the way they grunt now, will be grunting the same language. And that is a scientific fact. In 1,000 years from now, no one will speak any of these languages.
Go back up to Productions.
What has thus far been the hardest video to make? The hardest video to make. Okay. Hardest video to make. Was already spoken about just a little bit earlier, not by me, but it was Devil's Den. It was by you. You spoke it. Devil's Den. I went to Devil's Den. I flew solo. I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing, and I didn't know that I had congestive heart failure until I was halfway up the mountain. And even when it happened, I didn't know that I had congestive heart failure, so I continued up the mountain, and I kept taking a lot of dirt naps. Fortunately, I woke from those dirt naps. The hardest part was when I came down the mountain, being that you're already familiar with it, I actually came down pretty much on my butt. I was on my butt the whole way down until I hit the flats at the bottom where you cross a little bridge over the stream. I was on my butt the whole way back down. That was the hardest.
How about emotionally?
Emotionally, the hardest one to do emotionally. Well, Roberts Rangers or
Lost Children of the Alleghenies.
the Lost Children of the Alleghenies.
That was a hard one.
Lost Children of the Alleghenies. Crushed me. I think I had to do 15 takes on that one because I kept getting emotional. Yes, I get emotional. Yes, I actually cry. No, you're not allowed to see it. The wife is always telling me, Les is always like, well, let them see that you're an emotional person. I'm like, no, I'm a man. Oop. Sorry about that loud noise. That was the mouse dropping. Alrighty, let's see. Whether 5,000, yes. Walk of faith with discernment. I don't disagree. That's for a whole nother story and a whole nother channel. Maybe we'll do that one over coffee. Let's see. Have you been to the Library of Congress to do any research on anything? I physically have gone to the Library of Congress twice, not for this channel. And everything that's in the Library of Congress is now online and free to access at loc.gov. Feel free to use it. They have, I'm always on that site, always. Once in a blue moon, I have to actually send an email to get information released to me that they haven't uploaded or refreshed. Jim S., I just have to ask, UFOs, thoughts?
Do you have your sign? I want to believe.
Here we go. All right. Yes. It would be impetuous and pompous for us to believe that there isn't life out there. It is scientifically and mathematically proven that they have to be out there. Now, do I believe that that which is coming here is coming from not here? That's open for a different discussion. I don't necessarily believe that UFOs that do occur on this planet come from other worlds. I believe it's more likely, mathematically, that they come from here, and they've been here for a long time. And that goes into the whole conspiracy thing and the powers that be and what's going on and why history keeps getting erased. But there you go. So that's that. Now, Kecksburg UFO? No, it was not. And yeah, Leslie was looking around to see if I used to have it on my wall. I have a X-Files poster. I have the UFO and it says, I want to believe. How we grunt and how we fling poo is all that changes. I don't fling poo. I don't. I grunt. I grunt a lot. But I do not fling poo anymore. It's too much to clean up. There you go. Kecksburg. Nope. What really landed in Kecksburg? Without speculation, it was a satellite. It broke orbit. It came down. Why did it move the ways that it moved? Because that's the way that particular satellite that we had when it came back down, the way the thrusters work, it's 100% that. Was it American? That I don't believe. I do not think it was American. I do think it was Russian. So would you keep it a secret? You bet your sweet bippy. Star Trek. Star Trek? Never heard of it. You want me to speak Klingon for you?
Oh,
I didn't have to have college to learn Klingon. Aaron K. Reaching deep. Thoughts on the Dark Knight satellite? That's actually a really good one. Dark Knight satellite. If you were a species of human, or let's be more ambiguous, if you were a species of bipedal hominid that roamed the earth many, many years ago, and you reached a level of technology to do certain things, you would do it. Most likely, especially if you cross the technological gap. Once you realize that the opposable thumbs are pretty cool, you could do a lot of stuff with it. The amount of time that the humanoid species Homo sapiens sapien has been on this planet is just under 300,000 years. No, actually, that's just Homo sapien, not even Homo sapiens sapien, because the second sapien just means modern man. But Homo sapiens have been here just under 300,000 years. If you go back to if we were monkeys and you move forward, and I don't really mean monkeys, if you want me to be technical, we could say apes. If you go back, you're not going to go back more than 400, 500,000 years. Now, from that 500,000 years ago to when we actually became technologically advanced to where we are today is a blip. And that blip, if you take that little blip where we became technologically advanced and you measure that out with the entire lifespan of the hominid known as Homo sapien, and then you take that and then you put it into the historical record as many times as you can, all the way back to when the dinosaurs became extinct. Everything that we have done and are doing right now, we could have done 38 times before. 38 times we could have existed exactly as we are today, just as technologically advanced. 38 different times, and wiped out every single time. And that's just since dinosaurs went away. So, Dark Knight, nobody said that it has to be something new. And nobody says that it has to come from not this planet. So, with that, we're going to get out of that conspiracy and we're going to move on. What are my thoughts on cities and places taking down the statues of Confederate soldiers and officers? It is part of a movement right out of Mein Kampf to control the narrative and tell history as a story the way that you want, that promotes what you want and what you need from the people who are unwilling to actually do the research on their own. And that is the whole point of it. Other than that, it's just a statue. And I think it's more important that we get control of society and get people educated before we worry about dedications to individuals. Because there were more people than those soldiers and officers that passed. Do I care? Historically, it's annoying. But what do I really care about? The fact that people are being that stupid. They're being blind to history and they're not learning. That's my big issue. You mentioned Doctor Who earlier. I'm going to get real obscure and say my favorite doctor is Paul McGanny, a doctor. I'm the nerd who listens to his Big Finish audios while on the road. Well, you know, everybody's got a doctor, and it's okay because it's still the doctor. But my doctor's the fourth doctor. Currently watching DS9 because never seen that one. Oh, that's you. You put that up. Yeah. Rewatching that. It's painful because it's not the best Star Trek. Let's see. Brilliant speech. Thank you, Aaron. Do I believe Bigfoot is real? Do I believe Bigfoot is real? I believe there is something out there that is hominid, that is hairy, that is big, and that is the world's best hide and seek champion. Do I think Bigfoot is like a smart Neanderthal or something? I think the likelihood is it is something just barely beyond Gigantus Pithecus. And just the fact that I said Gigantus Pithecus means that I do actually research into the cryptozoological issues in the States and whatnot, and I do have belief systems in them. It would be stupid to think that there's not other creatures out there that are really good hiders. Do I believe in dimensional time travel and the ability to step behind a tree and reappear otherwhere? No, none of that. There's no need for magical or mystical. It's just a really good hiding monkey. And people go, oh, well, we know all this stuff. And you go, well, look at Jane Goodall and what she found and the whole thing with the silverbacks. We thought they were extinct. When I was a kid, I was looking into cryptozoology. My mind was blown in the 80s when we actually found a coelacanth. A coelacanth. If you don't know what a coelacanth is, it is a fish that's been extinct since before the Pliocene era. So it's been extinct for 500,000 years. It's been gone, and we found it. So Bigfoot? Why not? Do I think he's friendly? Probably not. All right. Organization for Action Research had a hand in the statue thing. Yeah, we could talk about Organization for Action, and we can actually take the connection of Organization for Action all the way back to the Obama period and Acorn. Check that one out. All right, let's see. Most people fear Bigfoot. I fear the people that spend millions to hunt Bigfoot. Yeah, I'm a part of a couple of groups on Facebook. One of them is the Pennsylvania hiking group, and there are people like, should I buy Crocs that are snake bite proof? And all I think is, why are people so afraid of snakes in Pennsylvania? We only have 2 venomous snakes in Pennsylvania. 2. Don't say 3. I'll argue it until I'm dead. There's 2. Your chances of seeing one on a trail are nil. 1,000 people in Pennsylvania per summer get bit by snakes. Of those 1,000, 4 or 5 of them were venomous. Nobody dies from it. It took 50 years for someone to finally die, and they had heart problems and everything, and they decided they weren't going to go to a hospital. That was back in 1993 or 94. And you're not going to run into them on the trails. If you go off the trails, you might run into one. I see 1 or 2 a year, maybe, sometimes 3, but I'm looking for them. So just like people being afraid of snakes, they're afraid of things they don't understand. And when you learn about it, you got nothing to be afraid of. Let's see what else we got. Thoughts on Freemasons? I must be careful with that one. I have friends that are Freemasons. What are my thoughts on Freemasons? The same as the IOOF. There we go. There we go. That was pretty good, right? That was good. Was that good? Come on, Adam. Was that good? All right. Things have slowed down a little bit. What I'm going to point out is...
Answer that one.
What,
And then it's 10 o'clock. Been doing it for 2 hours.
what century would I live in if I could? I would actually be looking forward to somewhere around 2400. Honestly. When I was a child, I always wanted to live forever. I look forward to the concept of taking a round steel ball that has crystalline structures within it that pop in the back of my head and download my brain and put it into a new body when this one passes. I know it's not going to happen, but I would like to live forever so that I could watch what humanity turns into, because I'm fascinated by it, although it's a very slow process. And I don't think we're going to be a whole lot better in the 2300s or 2400s, but that's where I'd like to live. Also, because you know the whole Star Trek thing, but we're not going to get into that either. Was I a Boy Scout? Yes, I made it all the way to Arrow Light. Where's my Morel honey hole? There's a couple of former gun ranges out here, and about 200 yards behind them. They used to be elm tree forests. I got freaking Adam. He's like testing me. He's like, "Are you really a prepper, dude?" Dude.
We have them marked with GPS in there.
Yeah, I got them marked out on GPS and everything. Okay. I'm not going to accept any more questions or answer any more questions at this point in time. It is 10 o'clock. This has run way longer than I thought it would. But I'm going to tell you guys, thank you. You made this very entertaining for me and help me open up myself in a way that I think I would be able to do. I am working on a couple other shows. Gas is killing me. And I don't mean in my bowels. I'm talking about for the engine of the car. The other one, I can handle that fine. The dogs and the wife, they can't handle it, but who cares? So I'm going to sign off. I love all of you. Thank you very much for showing up and asking these questions. This will be available shortly after we wrap things up here. So as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.